Hey, everyone. I'm Itamar. Let me introduce my colleague, Matt Kent. And this is Kyle Gilpin from the MIT Distributed Robotics Lab. I don't know how many of you know about Pilobolus, the dance company. Pilobolus started in 1971 when a bunch of, oops, it's going to be good. Started in 1971 when a bunch of college kids up at Dartmouth took a dance class because at the time it wasn't co-ed, and a very attractive young woman was teaching this dance class. And they had no idea how to dance or no real interest in dance, but they were interested in movement and athletes and bodies and science. And they made a dance which turned out to influence the history of movement for the next 42 years and counting. They named the dance after a barnyard fungus about 1/4 inch tall called Pilobolus crystallinus that loves the sun and blasts off its own head at a certain point when it decides to, in order to continue its species at an acceleration that I believe is either the fastest or very close to the fastest acceleration in nature. And this is what it looks like. Here you go. So they made this dance, and it looked something like this. And that was the beginning. That was the first thing that happened that created this movement, and really this movement company that continued on for a long time. What was interesting is that this group, which gained a guy and then 2 women, Allison Chase, their original teacher, and Martha Clark, the experimental theater director, they weren't very much interested in making dances for the sake of making dances. They were interested in making dances as an expression of their community. And they never had one choreographer. They never had a group of dancers that listened to that choreographer, but they all worked in some state of redundancy, both as performers, as directors, as creators, and as imaginers. And over time, that idea of the group started to become a really central part of what the entire idea of Pilobolus was about. And over the years, what was discovered was that it was possible to sort of harness the power of a group to be able to achieve all sorts of things that were not possible for individuals to do. Up to this point, it was always 6 people. And that was all it was. In recent years, the thought was sort of arose whether or not we could involve people that don't have anything to do with dance in our project. And we've been collaborating in various ways with various people to try to do so. Here are some of the things that we've done recently that brought minds that had nothing to do with dance, again, into this collaborative context where everyone was able to make something even though they had no experience in the form. And it all had to do with this methodology of essentially extreme redundancy and absolutely no sense of hierarchy other than the one that gets expressed through the lubricated functioning of a good group. This is a project we did with the puppeteer Basil Twist. This is an image from a video we made a 1.5 years ago with the rock band OK Go and Google. A project we did with the cartoonist Art Spiegelman. And this, very interestingly, is a live show we did this year with Radiolab, a radio show that we thought would be interesting to figure out how to put dance on the radio. But we eventually did it in a live setting, And what you're seeing here is not our dancers, but 2,500 people who were given little LEDs under their seats, and during an episode in which the description of a terrible space accident outside the Mir space station was going on, ended with a kind of very organic and spontaneous involvement of everyone who figured out that this was the right moment as the music started playing to pull out these LEDs and essentially participate in the creation of space. And somehow what we realized was that fundamentally what we were looking for is the feeling of ownership without authorship. And this was sort of what was in common to every one of our creative processes in terms of getting a group to function well. We did a project a couple of years ago in which we decided that we were going to try to see if we could get a group of people to set a Guinness Book of World Records by shoving more people into a Mini Cooper than had ever been done before. And we consider this very central activity for mission-based activity for Pilobolus. We got 26 people into a Mini Cooper. And that record still stands, I'm happy to report. I don't think anyone would be insane enough to try to break it. And it was interesting because we suddenly realized that there were a lot of other people in other disciplines interested in the functioning of groups in a similar way. And we started doing a project. This is a piece we did for the Oscars. But we start, and this, very important not to forget to tell you, is a project we're starting next week with the City of New York, which essentially is spelling out the word vote in thousands of settings and encouraging actually people, if you can see that sort of small little bottoms of those coffee cups, where we're going to small businesses and getting people essentially to use the tools of their businesses to spell the word vote, and that is growing and spreading virally. When we had worked with Daniela Roos and the Distributed Robotics Lab at MIT, we realized they too were very interested in these processes, and our interest in the work we did with Radiolab made us interested in seeing how large a group we could actually get involved in this sense of ownership without authorship. And so we had an idea, and we called up Kyle Gilpin, and we said, and Daniela, and we said, look, here's what we want to do. We want to take 300 umbrellas, and we want to get them somehow to light up, and we want to put a camera way up in the air above them so that everyone carrying these umbrellas becomes a pixel. And if you put a lot of different colors in these umbrellas, we could ostensibly play a video of Singing in the Rain that is going to be projected on top of these umbrellas through these lights and then picked up by a camera hanging above. And when we talked, we said, but wait a minute, that does not really give you ownership. That makes you a spear carrier who's holding an umbrella where someone's projecting a video onto your head. What would allow you to maintain this sense of ownership without authorship at a scale of 300 people? Enter Kyle Gilpin.
Thank you, Itamar. So I'm from the Distributed Robotics Lab at MIT, and a lot of what we do is based on using local rules to accomplish much larger global behavior. So in each of one of these simulations that you see, you have small simulated robots that are cubes or rectangles. And they're each making a decision based on their neighbors and what they can detect just in their immediate neighborhood. And with those decisions, they can accomplish much larger tasks. So you see a group of robots that are locomoting through a convoluted tunnel. You see another group of robots that is self-repairing some holes in a structure. And finally, you see a group of robots at the bottom that are self-assembling, self-reconfiguring to form a pyramid from an initial flat sheet. And so this very much captures this concept of ownership without authorship. Each one of the robots is making its own decision. There's no global controller telling them all what to do. They're all acting independently to accomplish a much larger task. So we wanted to do the same thing with the Umbrellas project with Pilobolus. And the goal, like Itamar said, was to have a display that's 250 plus pixels. And the initial idea was to project an image on top. But that doesn't really jive with this concept of ownership without authorship, nor does it really jive with our lab where we have distributed robotics. And so the idea was to allow every person carrying one of these umbrellas local control over what color their umbrella would be, if it was open or closed, and where they were in the image. And so in this process, we needed umbrellas that were easy to control and robust, but we had a lot of constraints. We had cost constraints. We only had a month to develop this. Batteries have to last an hour, and they really have to be easy to use. And so what we have is this simple circuit board that we developed with 3 switches, red, green, and blue. And I'll invite Matt Kent up, and we'll give you a demo of how these work.
OK. Itamar, if you can join us here. So at 4 o'clock today at High Mountain Hall, we're going to have a little workshop to develop some, I don't know, umbrella experts. Now, we found out that we needed to spray these with like this opaque kind of spray. So these are sort of magic umbrellas. Most umbrellas keep the precipitation on the off of you. This one snows on the inside. OK, so we got it like this. You've got your red, green, and blue here. This is perfectly normal, so don't worry about that. And Jim, if we can dim the lights, I'll show you how these work. So we're going to tilt them forward so you guys can see them. You've got red, green, we've got blue, right? So we're going to, at 4 o'clock, kind of explore this with our first PopTech exploration of this stuff. We might even get crazy. Like if you turn yours to blue, Itamar, we could get really nuts. Bump them together. There you go. Purple. Bleep. OK, so we're going to play around with that. And the people that come today, thanks, Jim. We can turn those back on. At 4, we'll be, we might even be able to get some special images or do something special. You'll have sort of a special role. In the second, the real umbrella project, which is going to be at 6 o'clock, and we're inviting everybody to come at 4 p.m. at the time of the workshop. I believe we're going to post on the Facebook page where this is going to be, because we're either going to be at the amphitheater, which is outdoors and beautiful, but if it rains, which is not going to rain, or we're going to go to the gym down the street. Either way, there's going to be buses here at 6 that will be taking us to whatever location we're going to do it at. It's going to be a big screen. You'll be able to see what it looks like from above, so that while you're running around, you can see not only all the people running by you with their faces lit up in all kinds of colors, but this beautiful image. We'll play some music, and we're going to play and hopefully make something unique and beautiful and have a good time doing it. I can't think of a better place to try this. It's the first time we've done this at all, and we're just thrilled to try this first experiment here at PopTech.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
And please join us for the Umbrella Project. See you later.
Thanks, guys.